Oh, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Dr. Jan Fortman with Relationship Matters TV. Hope everyone is having a beautifully blessed morning, afternoon, or evening, or early in the morning, as one of our guests is in. And today is my Mother's Day show. I have several, well, not several, I have, let's see, one, two, three, four, five awesome, awesome mothers, moms to be, single women, grandmothers, and we are all together and we're going to talk about raising sons and daughters. I'm not going to talk a lot. Usually I talk a lot, before we start, but I want to start right away because this is going to be a lively conversation. If you want to join in, if you want to put comments, if you want to put questions in the chat, please do so. It's a very important subject and we're going to have a good time. But first, before I bring in the first person, I want to tell you all about her. Her name is Christy Murray. She is a certified neuro coach and nurse practitioner. She's dedicated to creating lasting change in the world by empowering women all around the world to define and defeat and heal from covert narcissistic abuse and how to establish healthy boundaries so they can move forward and thrive in their newfound freedom. She empowers women in their journey of breaking the cycle of generational trauma. Yeah. She uses her coaching, nutritional endocrinology, and the most important thing, the Word of God to facilitate transformation. She coaches, and through a series of coaching sessions, she equips women with the tools they need to up level their health, their relationships, and overall well being. She has a deep understanding of covert narcissism, and I really want to know about that, and a passion for recovery. So, what I want to do right now is bring on Christy. Hello, Christy.
Hi, Dr. Fortman. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. You just call me Dr. Jan.
Dr. Jan.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Great, great. Tell us a little bit more about you and what you do and what is covert narcissism and how do you know about that?
Okay. All right, I'm going to try to keep it short, so short and sweet. So, first for me, I am a mother of two and I have a day job. I do work full time, as you have said. I work as a nurse practitioner. I love helping women. And as a mother, I have I'm on this mission to help mothers become better mothers and have better relationship with their children. Being mother being a mother for me is not just about getting pregnant and giving birth. It's really raising God-fearing, good citizens and good children of God. It's our responsibility not just to feed our children, but to nurture their hearts, their minds, and their souls as well. And the covert narcissism, I got really deep into it as a personal experience, is because through a series of events and I would say behaviors that I've noticed through family members, it's not quite your big, very grandiose, obvious narcissism. So let's talk about narcissism first. So it if you know about Greek or Roman mythology, Narcissus or Adonis is this guy that fell in love with himself. So he was sitting by the river, and a spell was put on him. So he fell in love with himself, and he was just there. He was stuck. He was looking at himself. He fell in love with himself, and that was his curse. So that became the flower narcissus, which came the word narcissism. So narcissism is a narcissistic person is someone who is just all into themselves. Everything gravitates around them. It's all about them. You may hear them talk about me. It's always me, myself, and I. So that would be the grandiose type. It's really obvious. They're very boastful. They talk about their achievements and they like to be the center of attention. And they don't care. Their lack of empathy is what makes them narcissistic. Now that's the grandiose type. Now the covert type is, as we talk about covert, it's very insidious. You don't know that they're narcissistic. And they may even present themselves as mostly the victim, the damsel in distress, and you would be almost enamored to help them and do everything for them until you notice patterns of whatever you do for them, and anything you do is not good enough, and it's always your fault. They become your responsibility, and they're just not happy. A lot of the things that happen in those kinds of relationship is you you feel guilted a lot, you get shamed a lot, and you get gaslighted. And if that comes from your upbringing, and that is all you know, that's normalized, and your patterns may even be your from your grandmother to your mother. And if that's normalized in that relationship and that's all you know, you think that's just how things are.
You take that into your life in other relationships.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
you're right, because
yeah.
that's
That's
how
what.
you were raised.
That's all you know.
That's all you know.
Oh wow, I know some men like that who are narcissistic. But anyway, we won't go there.
That's
So
why it's important to know it, so you recognize that kind of behavior from other people as well. Because if you were raised in that kind of environment, you tend to attract people that are also narcissists.
oh my goodness, you're right about that. Let me bring on someone else right quick, and we're going to come back to that when we start talking more so about some of just how this all impacts that relationship with your children. So I'm going to bring in at this time, who am I going to bring in? I think I bring in Margaret Lance. So let me tell you a little bit about Margaret. Margaret is a speaker, a facilitator, and a migrant parent coach. And she works with adults and young people on a wide range of issues, including raising HIV awareness and gender-based violence. She's fluent in French. Parlez-vous français? She applies her language skills within her role as a community learning and development practitioner within diverse communities, particularly in helping women and their families. She's the ambassador in the UK for My Body is My Body program, which helps keep children safe. So let me bring to you, without further ado, from Scotland, Margaret Lance. Hello, Margaret.
Hello, Dr. Janice. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great, and thank you for being my guest. Go into a little bit more about mothers and daughters and how to keep them protected from I know you work with HIV awareness, sexually transmitted diseases. What is it that why do you think that you have to focus on this, especially with mothers and daughters?
Thank you very much. Good question. First of all, I put myself as a case in point and my background. Um, I was born and brought up in Cameroon, and the community that I support, some of them were kind of born and brought up in the by old parents from the old school, which means that certain topics were considered or are considered to be a taboo. Issues around sexual health, issues around abuse. If you're brought up to do as your parents are told, and in today's world, you feel that, okay, I have to do the same to my children. And of course, we know that every parent wants the same for their child. But there is that gap, there is that um, gap or the era that children were born and brought up. You're born and brought up, say, in Africa, or with brought up by parents from the old school, it's obviously going to affect your parenting style if you don't invest in yourself to catch up with the current fast changing world. So, in terms of sexual health, many parents today grew up at a time when their parents never spoke to them about body development, about growing up, about relationship or sexual health. So they don't feel comfortable or they don't talk to their children because one, either they don't feel comfortable, as I said, or they don't have the skills to do that. They feel embarrassed because it's a taboo. So my work is to engage with parents and their families and their children, young people, to have open and honest conversations. If you don't have the skills, what can you do to equip yourself so you can engage in your children's world in order to understand them better? We realize today that most of issues of breakdown in relationships with teenagers and their parents is because of lack of communication, is because of lack of understanding, wanting things your way. But the children don't want it your way because your ideas do vary. What they want is not what you want. By pushing them to go and achieve your failed goal is a cause for concern. Rather, we encourage, or I encourage in my work, to have this open and honest conversation so that you can engage in your child's world to be able to understand them better and support them to achieve their own goals. In terms of HIV, also, it is a topic that nobody wants to talk about. It's over 40 years of HIV, yet there is still a lot of stigma surrounding HIV and the people living with HIV. So, my work as a community engagement coordinator is to go out and raise awareness through education. I'm not a medical doctor, and you don't have to be a medical doctor to raise awareness about issues that matter. With regards to keeping children safe, we understand that in today's world, children learn from their environment, from their peers. It doesn't suffice for a parent to buy a gadget or smartphone and just give to their children. They also have to understand that they have to put in some parental control because you don't know who your child is interacting with. They can be in their room, but their room is an entire world on its own. So we equip with My Body is My Body program. We equip parents as well as the children. For parents, we want them to understand what the different types of abuse and what they can do about it. What they can do when their child comes up to them to report a situation of abuse. And on the other hand, with the children, we work with them through songs so they can easily remember the body parts. They do that in school, but teaching children through songs about their body, which is their special body. Nobody has the right to touch them. Nobody has the right to hurt them. And also, both children and parents is to work with them to establish a zero secret policy at home, because abusers, they use secrets. Don't tell anybody. It's our secret. Keep it to yourself. So these songs help young people to remember and to raise their concern with someone they trust, their parents, their carers, their teachers, and whoever they feel comfortable. And to keep telling, if somebody doesn't listen, they should keep telling and telling until somebody listens to them.
That's so very, very important. Uh, and I'm going to come back to you because there are a couple of things that you said, and I think all of us really want to delve deeper into that, delve deeper into narcissism, generational trauma, and keeping and communicating with our children
Yeah.
things that are kind of a little uncomfortable, for us to do as parents. So I'm going to bring you back, Margaret, and so let's see. Now this mom said to me, if you want to know about how to raise some successful daughters, you need to talk to me. I'm like, okay. So let me tell you a little bit about Ingrid Bird. She is the proud mother of two adult daughters. They are Nyla and Adana, who is here with us today. Her confident young ladies are in the early years of their respective careers, and I want to know what careers they are in. Ingrid is also a psychologist specializing in career and organizational development. She's on a mission to help build Chicago's workforce through collaborative efforts leading to transformational and meaningful career decisions by urban community college students. She's among the most credentialed career services professionals in the Illinois community college system. Her career services approach encompasses her doctoral education in industrial and organizational psychology, two master's degrees in economics, and the combined counseling and organizational psychology. Oh, girl. Her certifications include counseling, master online teaching, professional resume writing, and digital career strategist. And in her spare time, you most likely find her on the tennis court. And let's bring Mama Ingrid and daughter on.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Adana, and hi, Dr. Ingrid. How are
Hello.
you? How you
Hey,
doing?
well, we're doing well. Thank you for having us. And I just wanted to lay some context to my proud statement of what it takes to raise successful daughters. Now, when I had
Oops,
um,
my fault.
certifications at the time. However, I want to piggyback on some of the points that Margaret made. It is important that you raise your daughters in an environment that is conducive to where you want them to be as an adult, as grown people. So for me, I thought I was looking ahead. I said, for them to be successful young women, what would I need to do for them from day one? And I had myself to use as an example, the household I was raised in, and also stories from my mother and my dad on about the households that they were in. And two key things popped out for me and is perfect for this conversation is the emotional support of your children and help to develop their broad world view. So for me as a mom, there were things that I had to learn, and I had to go to resources to be supportive of my daughters. Oftentimes as mothers, as you know, as a new mother, there's no guidebook. So what do you do, right? So, but for me, because I am a researcher, just from my nature of education, I consulted other information. Like I had the American medical book on child development, what to expect in their developmental years at 6 months, 5, 10 months, a year old, and I would monitor my children and say, okay, are they reaching these milestones? Meaning, their mental abilities, their cognitive abilities, so that if they did not meet these milestones, then my role as a parent was to make sure that I connected them to those resources to help them in that development. Also, just having a loving household.
Yes.
And just taking them out regularly. One of the things I learned as a mom, it wasn't so much about academics, but just exposing them to a lot of things. So when Nyla was born, by the age of, before she was a year old, we were going out once a week to the museums. I had a membership to the Children's Museum, and we went out every week just to be in a different environment, play different things, learn about other manipulative that I may not have here. And I was fortunate enough to be a stay-at-home mom for 7 years. So during those early developmental years, I was there to mold our children. And so my children did not sit in front of the TV all day. We went outside, we went on walks, we went places. And believe me, it was exhausting, but it paid off. My goal was for my daughters to be just well-rounded and confident. And I did instill in them certain key attributes as far as an adult. So I'm gonna let Adana share some of the things that she believed that I instilled with her as she developed and grew up.
Hello, Adana. I am the youngest of the two daughters that my mom had. And I think certain things that were instilled into my everyday life is just being prepared, just, making sure that everything is in order, but also knowing that you should have a backup plan just in case if things don't go in order, as well as just being able to listen to people. I think we live in a society now, especially with the rise of social media. We see a lot of people where they're like, "Oh, you don't owe anybody kindness. You don't owe anybody anything." And it's like, well, I don't believe that. We all have our days, and if we use empathy, which my mom had a lot of, for me when I was growing up, and even now, and just she talks to me. She's not just always jumping to oh, well, this is what you should do, whatever. She listens to me and hones in on me and zooms in on me. And if we use that to, with friends, with relationships, with others, we create a better and stronger environment that will help us to understand each other. And that's really all we need to do. We just need to understand each other. And another thing, I would say that helped me be successful is that my mom never, or my dad, my mom never really shut me down. There was never shut up. There was never swearing. There was never, oh, you're wrong. There was never any of that in the household. It was, oh, okay, if you believe that, explain that. Why do you think that? So it made me use my critical thinking and had me, research or, find why I believe what I believed in. And also, my mom let me shine in the things that let me shine, in certain areas that let me shine. So school was kind of hard for me, just because learning styles and just teachers and everything. But where I really shined and where I felt really happy was gymnastics and being active and doing sports and everything. So throughout my gymnastics career, I noticed oh, okay, if I train better, I can compete better. If I eat better, I can compete better, and all these things which built it instilled in me in a very healthy lifestyle, which now I attribute to my profession. I'm a Pilates instructor. So if there was no support in my early childhood development, my sports development, if my mom was just like, okay, just focus on school, I don't know where I would be right now. I'm not sure if I would be happy in my career, because it's not just about being successful. It's about knowing that you are happy and you are fulfilled day in and day out. You're going to have struggles. You're going to have ups and downs. You know, life is a roller coaster, but knowing that you, at the end of the day, your soul self feels good.
Wow. Wow. You know what? That's wonderful to hear from the daughter. Now, you're not just saying that because your mama next to you, right?
No. She didn't pay me for this interview. This is all just me, you know. I'll send her the bill after. No, just kidding.
Okay. Well, it's nice to get a perspective from an adult daughter. And, I'm going to ask you some questions later on.
Uh-oh.
It's going to be hard about that. So, so I'm going to take you all off, and I'm going to bring my next guest on. So let me tell you about Miss Maxine Walker. First of all, before I start with Maxine, she is my workout buddy. And together, oh my God, we do really work out. When we leave, we're like, So let me tell you about Maxine. Maxine is the proud mother of an adult daughter and an adult son. And she's the grandmother to 2 granddaughters and a grandson. And she's like, I don't know if we call her the play mother, the community mother, the mother for everybody. Maxine is the mother. And when I say the mother of all mothers, I mean that in a very positive way. Maxine has a friend that's her age practically, that she mothers. And I tease her sometimes and ask her, okay, so how's your other child? How's your grown child? That's who Maxine is. She's an avid volunteer and contributor to a homeless shelter for women who have no place to go because of things that were happening in their lives. She also assists people who are struggling financially with their bills. She also volunteers weekly at a food pantry. She does so much. When I grow up, I'm going to be just like Maxine. So let me bring Maxine on to you with us. Hey, Maxine.
Hey, Dr. Jan.
How are you?
I'm wonderful after I work today. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, well, you worked today, and we worked out yesterday, and we're going to work out tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. We work
Correct.
out 3 days a week. Now, I have you on because you raised a son and a daughter, and you really raising a grandson. Just not. So
He's already grown. He's grown, but he needs
yeah, he's grown, but he's good. Yeah, but he's another one of your children.
Of course.
So, Maxine, you raised a son and a daughter, and they're adults, and the grandson is an adult, and one of the granddaughters is an adult.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference? Thinking of everything that Christy said, that Margaret said, and Ingrid and her daughter said, what's the difference in raising a girl and a boy?
There's really no difference because they didn't come here with instructions. You got to figure it out. There is no manual whatsoever for these children, and you have to figure out the personalities, which one is going to do that. And with my son, I found out with me being a single parent, I had to play the heavy all the time. And I'm not saying that I didn't nurture him, but I had to play the heavy because I did not want to lose him to drugs. I did not want to lose him to the gangs. I did not want, and I told him, if you go to jail, boy, I'm not coming to get you. So, because I can't do that, because if something happens, I can't, it's hard for me to come to jail and see you and I could leave and you can't come with me. That would break my heart. And that was my thing with him. My daughter, I knew she had brains, but I wanted her to use her brains. And to me, sometimes she didn't use them the correct way. So therefore, I had to be the heavy with her. And a lot of times I was in a nurture both of them. I really had to nurture them because I had to house them. I had to feed them. I had to clothe them. And they were not neglected. I was the one that was neglected because I worked the hardest. In the summertime, I would work and I had a joke with them and I would tell them, look, you can't be on the street because I'm at work. I know you're out of school and I need you to be doing something. So when we can't go to the museums, as Ingrid did with her children, if we can't go to the museums, I need you to write me a book report, both of them. Through books, you can go anywhere in the world. And that's what I instilled in them during the summertime. And sometimes punishment, I asked them to do too, because if they didn't do what I asked them to do, they had to do two. But I only asked them to do one because we always had things to do as a family. And as a single parent, it was all on me and I did a lot.
So do you believe what they say that you love your sons and raise your daughters?
No, I don't believe in that because I had to raise him to respect me, and me being a woman, he had to do that.
Okay, and I ask you that question because I've heard that a lot of times, that women have a tendency to love their sons and it's like they can hardly do wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and raise their daughters. So so I'm asking this because I don't have a daughter. I just have a son.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this question, and this comes from what Margaret was saying. When I know you had to have the talk about, well, they're adults, so HIV wasn't around, but sexually transmitted diseases, the sex talk.
Okay.
How did you do that was it easier to do that with your daughter than it was with your son?
I would say yes, it was easier for me to do that with my daughter. And I'm gonna give you a little short story about what happened with my son. My son, before he went to the Navy, he contracted a STD. And he said, "Oh, Ma, something is wrong. Ma, something is wrong." And he's starting to unzip his pants and "Oh, Ma, look, low, hold up, dude. I don't want to see that. Let's go to the doctor." So, but I'm leaking, Ma, I'm leaking. Let's go to the doctor. I don't know. I don't want to see all of that. He was 17, 18 years old. And I was like, "Oh, you can't do this to me." So after that, we had that and everything was corrected. And then he went to, and I told him, I said, "You got to wear condoms." And he wore condoms. In fact, I'm going to tell you, when he his son and his youngest child are 24 years apart. And therefore, he wore his condoms.
Okay, so look, I gotta take just a quick commercial, and I'm bringing everybody back because I really want to know how all of this fits together as far as being a mama, being a mother, and raising sons and daughters. About generational trauma, how that plays into raising your children. Um, what Ingrid talked about as far as like I think Maxine and Ingrid said, being a mother, it doesn't come with a book of instructions. And so I want to kind of go more into that, because I think when you look at what's going on today in the world with younger children, it's like, what is going on? Are we failing as mothers or what? So anyway, I got to take a couple of, well, I'm only going to do one commercial, and then we're going to come right back with this is the Mother's Day show. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back as soon as I can find the commercial. Here we go.
5 years ago, the Power of We Symposium was created to provide a platform for kids from all sectors where they could have a safe and comfortable environment in which to share both their joys and concerns. The Power of We Symposium is proud to have served over 250 kids throughout Romania when we took our mission global back in May of 2023. Now, 2 teams of amazing volunteers from both the U.S. and Romania embarked on an 8-day Legacy of Hope tour, bringing encouragement and hope to not only the kids of Romania, but also the adults who support them, and also to over 100 kids here in the U.S. who contributed handwritten letters of hope to our Romania mission of 2023. Now, this year, we are proud to provide this opportunity yet again in October, and we are super excited to up our game. New venue, 750 kids this time, and we want to see you there. We're looking forward to meeting you in person at this year's event, which promises, as always, incredible speakers, amazing content, and of course, some of the greatest kids on the planet. So, mark your calendars for October 24th, and we'll see you here in Chicagoland for the Power of We Symposium 2024. This year's theme is Always Together, Never Alone. Tickets are available now on Eventbrite or at powerofwesymposium.com.
We are back, but it's something I want to tell you right quick before I bring my guest back on. And this is this. On tomorrow, May 10th, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, I am doing a Mother's Day Masterclass via Zoom. And it's 8 steps to harmonious mother-daughter relationships. I would love to see you all there. And what I will do is, this is the ticket. So all you have to do is you go to Eventbrite and just type in Mother's Day Masterclass, and it will come up. And it's only $19. And there are some tips and some tools that, audience, you can use, men and women, you can use to have a better harmonious relationship with your mother. All righty. So let's bring back Christy and Margaret and Ingrid and Adana and Maxine and me. Now, I want to ask a question. Going back to what Christy said about generational trauma. how you were raised, it might not have been trauma, but how you were raised, did that influence the way that you raised your children? I'm going to start with you, Christy.
So I was not spanked.
Okay.
I was actually proud that, hey, I was disciplined, because all my mother had to do was look at me. And even if it's not my fault, I would like, hey, it's my fault. Just stop looking at me that way. So it was not trauma as we know it then. And I'm sure that's how she was raised by her mother as well.
I'm just going to change the color.
Okay. Well, yeah, I can hear you, Ingrid. Yeah.
The realization came that it was generational trauma when I started repeating what I had learned to my children. So then I saw how my children were reacting. And then that's when I realized, well, okay, why are they acting this way? That's how I was raised. And I turned out okay. But turns out I did not turn out okay. Because then I started noticing certain patterns that I could have done better. And by the grace of God, I was able to see it and make changes.
Okay. All right. Margaret, you're on mute. So
Yep.
do you see that when you are trying to educate the women and the daughters, about sexually transmitted diseases, do you see that like the mother was whatever, and then therefore the daughter is the same?
Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier on, some parents who were brought up by parents from the old school, they don't feel comfortable sharing information in today's world. And we do know that children or young people, they take sex education classes at school. So if you are not open to discussion, where do these children get their information from? And all the speakers here, I've learned a lot, because when we are not open to talking to our children, they will find other ways of getting information. In today's world, we cannot withhold information from young people because they know where they will get that information from. And sometimes they will get what we don't want them to, and they don't have that confidence to discuss with us because we're going to scream at them. And that's why I said sometimes ideas do vary, and the young people, they're so talented. So my method sometimes is start with how you were brought up. Oh, you're so lucky today. Oh, you're using sanitary towels and this. We didn't use this. This is what we use. So ask them, open conversation, so you learn from them and they learn from your own old school. On the other hand, I'm not criticizing people of faith. I'm a Christian myself, but I'm not here to preach Christianity or religion. But sometimes parents use the Bible as a threat. If you do this, you go to hell. You do that, you go to hell. And then the young people getting confused in a fast changing and challenging world. They have their own future ahead of them. They expect their parents to have this open and honest conversation with them, to share information with them. So if we use threats, I don't think it works. Then you see doors slam in your face and you grumble and say, oh, I didn't speak to my parents like that. Well, you got to do something about it, or that's what you get. And most of the time, it leads to relationship breakdown. Either children are removed, They are taken into foster care, they go on drugs, they end up with mental health issues, and all of these that could have been avoided if we learn to start talking to our children at an early stage. And I admire Dr. Ingrid, Maxine, and Christy for what you have shared. But within my community, we still have issues. I'm not saying everybody. There are parents who talk to their children, who say, okay, take condoms. Those that wouldn't, I say you don't have to push them, but have this conversation and say, okay, remember, a relationship is not about sex. Are you ready? You got to be ready. Don't do the things that you will regret. So if they know that they can come to you with the issues that matter to them and you listen to them without judging them, then they'll
That's
come
true.
to you without going to Dr. Google or to their peers
Dr. Google.
or having a double identity in front of you. They are the child or the children that you know, and outside of home, they are someone else.
Let me
In
ask
the
you, I
room,
want to ask Adana right quick. How
yep.
did you feel? Were you uncomfortable when your mom started telling you all about sex?
No,
My
not at all.
oh, no, no.
Those talks were always uncomfortable for me, but just because of like other stuff, like I mean, there was a time where my mom took me to a spa, and in the spa, like a lot of nudism was around, and I just was in my corner. So I'm just naturally kind of uncomfortable with that stuff. But with all that being said, I kind of agree with, when Dr. Margaret was talking about how sometimes you don't know your children, like they have the personality that you have like in front of them, and then the personality that they are outside. And I don't have that with my parents. I'm just weird 24/7. There's no like anything. And it would be interesting in high school when we would have like high school parties and everything. And, my friends, their parents would be like, no, you can't go. You can't go. My parents would be like, oh, yeah, you can go. So, but they also did that because they knew that they raised me and my sister better. I didn't start drinking until I graduated college. So I was well over the age of 21 because frankly, I've had a taste of alcohol and it tastes nasty. I'd rather have juice. I'd rather have lemonade. It tastes bitter. I don't like it. So they knew that they raised me with sense that if I was to go out, that, hey, like I can call them for help, to come pick me up. Or I wasn't gonna try any, drugs or alcohol or anything. Like they raised me knowing that um I'm always safe and that I would come home if something were to happen, that they wouldn't reprimand me. Like if something were to, go wrong at some party, whatever, and I'm like, hey mom, hey dad, like can you guys come pick me up? They wouldn't like reprimand me. They want to make sure that I'm okay first. And then we would divulge in that situation. But of course, stuff like that never happened because me and my sister, we just had too much sense.
Oh, okay.
I
Look,
was raised in a bubble. Not in a bad way, but just because, like I said earlier, I had my daughters in my mid 30s. So I
okay.
had a career, I traveled, I had designer clothes. So I went through all of that. And so once I had children, none of that was important. All my energy went into doing all that I could for them that was reasonable. So I
Okay,
wanted
we
to
have a comment here from Gwendolyn Dunbar.
okay.
Mhm.
And she says, excellent show with all the different perspectives as mothers. I have two sons, 11 years apart. The mistakes I made with the first one helped me to do better with the second one. It also helped me to realize that each child is different and unique with their own creativity. I love both
Right.
of them for their own individuality. And then a comment came in
Mhm.
via text. If you don't teach your children the right information, then they will get misinformation from their peers. And
I just have to jump in.
I saw today on the news that about drug overdoses and how young kids, to teenagers, and I guess even younger, are can get drugs so easily off of social media, and it's just like ordering from
Mhm.
Amazon. that they delivered right to the door. But Maxine, I want to ask you, I want to go back to uh, uh, not necessarily generational trauma, but I know you were raised mostly by your grandmother because your mom passed early. So the
Mhm.
two differences, did you bring that into raising your son and your daughter?
Some of it, and then my dad was there too. And
Okay.
I also have to tell you, it was like a village. My mother had two brothers, and they had wives, so they took care of me and my brother and my sister. It was all of them that together raised us. So it wasn't just my grandmother and my father, even though we were in the house with them, but we were every week we were not without any of them.
Okay. So did that influence, so your environment, did it influence the way you raised your son and your daughter?
Yes, because I have to tell you, yes, it did. My uncle Sidney, he had 7 girls and 2 boys, and his wife had all these girls. So she would sit us down and she would try to talk to us as best as she could, but she didn't know how to. And of course, we had sex education, but the older ones, they didn't hear to it because they became sexually active and they had children at a younger age. And with that happening to them, I did not want it to happen to me. So I had to do a little bit better because I saw what was happening with them.
Okay. All right. And I asked that question because I think about how my mother raised me, because my father was not in the household for a long period of time. And
Mhm.
and I don't remember, well, I'm older than everybody here, but 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 my mom never talked to me about sex.
Mhm.
Never. Um,
Mhm.
she talked to me not about sex, but once I started my menstrual cycle, and the only reason I really knew
Mhm.
about that was because of the girls who were older than me talked about it. And so then that's when she talked about it. But how old was I? I think I was something like 14 or something like that, you know. And but I learned more so about sex from my peers. And so when you talk
Mhm.
about generational, that's the way that she was raised. And then when you
Mhm.
talk about generational, she was in college when my grandmother took her out of college because when you think about how my grandmother was raised and thought, college, what's a woman going to do with college? You know, get married, find a husband, get married, you know. And so since she couldn't finish college, then on her mind for me was, oh, you are definitely going to college. I wanted to be a singer. She said, no, you going to college. But anyway, we only got about 3 minutes to go. Time just flies and it's so much to say. But what I want in one sentence, and give me some advice that you would like to give to mothers today. I'm going to start with Christy. One sentence.
As a mother, when you talk to your children, always come from a place of love. I want this for you. I want you to be safe because I love
Okay, Margaret.
Listen and communicate.
Very good.
Open and honest communication.
Okay, Dr. Ingrid.
I agree. Listen, do not judge, do not give advice. Let them figure it out. Let them vent.
Adana.
Um, I would just say, listen and respect the personality that they are shaping into. A lot of different personalities, and you just got to know how to make them the best of this personality that they're shaping themselves into.
All right. Maxine.
I will say be patient as you listen to them.
Okay. And
because
we
they have a
one
lot
more.
going on today.
And we have one more. Sandy Barney
No
Ennis.
problem.
It is crucial that parents develop close relationships early with their children. This helps in forming their attachments to each other, be able to develop communication skills between them with their children in their early days. Maxine, I didn't mean to cut you off. Finish. I just wanted to put that comment in there.
No problem. No problem.
Here. Okay. And Caroline Daniel. Sex education in Canada used to be at 7 years old, 12 or 14 is too late. Parents, especially mothers, do play a role. And of course, listen without judging, with patience, and speak using the true terms. Well done. Well, we got a minute. The time just goes by. I want to thank all of you for the value that you brought to the audience today. And I know moms out there, but if you're watching and you have friends, other mothers who weren't watching and need this, please share it with them. I want to thank you all so much for coming on. And just to let you know, in the near future, Christy is going to be on again, and we're going to delve deeper into chronology, into really more so into, we just dabbled a little bit on narcissism. We're going to delve deeper into that. I want to thank you all. It's been wonderful. Actually, we needed almost like 2 hours. So you all have a beautiful, blessed rest of your evening. I put something in the private chat. Read it. Margaret, go to bed. It's what time is it? 1 a.m.
Really, Margaret, go to bed.
Wow. It's been a wonderful pleasure being part of this conversation, which is so close to my heart. And relationships matter. Dr. Janice, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And-
Thank you all. Thank
And
you
I did
all.
say I would invite myself. Thank you
Oh,
all.
okay. Oh, this has just been so wonderful, and the time went by so fast. I want to thank all of you all for watching, and happy Mother's Day. If you haven't talked to your mama, call your mother. I will see you again next week on Relationship Matters TV. Remember, life is all about relationships. There are all kinds of relationships and all kinds of matters. Relationship matters. See you again next week.